Hello everyone, I'm Ben Coleman, one of your many hosts here at the Florida Aviation Network, and where are you? If you're watching this, you're probably not here at the Sun and Fun 45th Annual Sun and Fun International Fly-In and Expo here at beautiful Lakeland Linder Regional Airport. And we are here to promote aviation safety. That's what we do. We have a volunteer staff, and we have a wonderful location that Sun and Fun provides to us, because we are recognized as being the official Sun and Fun television network. That being said, we get the opportunity to talk to some of the most dynamic folks on the property here. We have manufacturers, we have vendors, suppliers, we have engineers, we have chairman of the board, we have board members from each, every impact on aviation industry is here. And to that end, I want to kind of introduce to you, there's no way I can flavor this up, Phil Lockwood. Everybody knows Phil Lockwood. Phil?
Hello, Ben.
I was going to try to give you a glowing, but you are a mainstay of a manufacturer here in the state of Florida, and you produce what's, as far as I'm concerned, the most versatile, dynamic aircraft that we offer in the industry today, the AirCam, and you can develop just a little bit about the Drifter. You remember the Drifter?
Oh yeah, sure.
And it's so important that I want to share with our viewing audience is the impact that had on National Geographic and some of the shows that they might have seen being shot from your platform. And I think that gave you the springboard to where we are now.
Sure it did, absolutely.
Phil, tell us a little bit about you. And you're here every year, and you're here not only in the capacity of the Seaplane Pilots Association, but Lockwood Aviation. You're here representing the Rotax engine. And what other capacities are you here to represent other than those I just mentioned?
Well, we've got the AirCam and the Rotax, and then I do safety seminars on the Rotax engines. So you know, that's of course I'm also on the board for the Seaplane Pilots Association, so trying to help that organization, and they're doing some really good things as well. So I'm quite involved with that.
Well, and you're not just trying; you are helping. I know Steve McCaughey and I we're good friends. As a matter of fact, we both put in for that job. You remember that?
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, that was a really tough choice, Ben.
That's okay. When I see some of the trips and some of the things that Steve's doing, I say, Steve, thank you so much for taking that job. But I regard Steve McCaughey as number one, and he affectionately regards me as number two. So,
well, I think that I know that the board had a really tough time, and I actually wasn't one of the guys that was involved in that decision-making process. I think either one of you would have been a great choice, but it's no question that Steve has done a great job, and I'm sure you would have done a great job also.
Well, the beauty part of it is, in this business, it's really not competition. He knows he can still count on me, and I will help him any chance I get.
And he's told me that, and he appreciates your support very much.
Well, and we're not finished. I've got a CB coming that's going to just light up the sky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Gen 3, AirCam Gen 3. I think that's the term that you've done.
Going back to your first question about how we got into the AirCam, right? I was working with a company called Max Air back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. I think my first year here at Sun and Fun was 1983, thinking, and I've been here every year since that, working for one of the companies, right? Mm-hmm. Always enjoyed the show, but when I was working for Max Air, they built a plane called the Drifter. And the Drifter was a nice photo platform because like the Aircam, it was a tandem pusher and the front seat was right out in front of the wing and you had excellent visibility. And so it made a great photo platform. So there were a group called the Bartletts who were working in Namibia, in the Namib Desert, which is a small country just to the northwest of South Africa on the west coast. And they were doing some research work there, and they bought 2 drifters from me. And I helped train Jen on how to fly them, one of the 2 husband-wife team members, and made several trips to Namibia and worked with them. And so that was a lot of fun, but I learned a lot, of course. I was learning, just learning from these guys. Always enjoyed photography anyway, so the combination of flying and photography was very appealing to me. That led to several other jobs in the U.S., just helping some guys get special filming shots and that sort of thing. And we always did it just because it was fun and to get the experience. And then a group that was working on a research project in the Ndoki rainforest in the Congo came to me and they said, hey, we heard about the work you did for the Bartletts and we'd like to do something similar. We have an opportunity to do some work in this rainforest. But their work was all over the rainforest versus the desert in Namibia. And in Namibia, you could land almost anywhere.
Not so much in the rainforest. Not
so much in the rainforest. You know, dense rainforest. And I asked them, well, how do you intend to take off and land? They said, well, the Songo River is right near our base, which flows into the Congo River, and we want to put floats on the plane and then fly it over the rainforest. I said, well, how much time will you spend over the river? Oh, just for takeoff and landing. It's all over the rainforest. So I said, well, you know, I just single engine. What's the chance of rescue if we go down? Oh, probably no chance of rescue.
That's reassuring.
So I thought, that sounds pretty high risk. And I told them about this design for the Aircam that I had been working on. And I had some drawings, and they said, well, can you build one for us? And so they talked me into basically building the first one for them. It was quite a project. They needed it in 6 months. So I put a team together and we worked 7 days a week, day and night. And in about 6 months we had it flying.
Wow.
Flew the time off of it. Everything was working well. It was very, you know, it was good. It was fortunate that it worked well right out of the bag, right out of the box. Took the plane apart. I mean, I think there were 7 crates, so we could get it shipped over there by air on a 747. And sent it off. And I flew over to Namibia and met the plane there. Of course, it took 3 weeks to get it there. It was supposed to take 3 days. It was Africa, you know. And but got the airplane in Brazzaville, put it together, and flew it across the equator up to northern Congo, around 400 miles or so. And then we did our work, and the plane worked. You know, it really worked. So that airplane is now in the EAA Air Museum, Aircam number 1. And then we developed the Aircam from there. So that's the basic story of how the plane came to be.
And the genealogy from number 1, Aircam 1, how does it look now compared to Aircam 1?
There were 2 number 1s built, the one that EAA owns. Then there was a second number 1 type style prototype built that we used for testing. And we took it to some shows and saw that there was a demand for such a kit. And then Gen 2 was developed, and that's the one that we sold, that kit. So Gen 2 was produced from that point until now. And so that leads to Gen 3. So we had a number of customers come to the realization that you could fit a 3rd seat in what is normally the cargo area. And we've had customers just plop a seat in there, like in Colombia, there's guys down there flying around with 3 seats. Heck, they put gas cans on the struts, and I mean, they do all kinds of things that we certainly wouldn't recommend, but we see them doing it. We have recommended against that because of the structural limits of the landing gear and the fuselage, and the fact that your useful load makes it difficult to really carry 3 people without going over gross. And the real concern with going over gross is you lose single engine performance. And that's not what we're all about. We're all about having fun safely and having a real twin that can really fly on one engine.
Yeah. With an engine loss of power, it's not an event.
But we knew that it was possible to put a third seat back there pretty comfortably, and we had been looking for ways to do it in a safe way. And when we designed the full enclosure, we made it so it would accommodate a third seat, right? So all the dimensions, and we knew, okay, and the doors and everything back there, call them cargo doors, but they're pretty big, you know, and you can get in there pretty easily. So a fellow by the name of Ronnie Smith at South Mississippi has been working on what he calls the big bore kit. There are other companies doing it, but I think he's one of the leaders in the development of this increased displacement kit for the 912. So he's been working on that for many years now, and I've watched the kit progress and get better and better and better. And a year or two ago, about a year and a half ago, it seemed like it had gotten to the point where it was ready for prime time. And so several of our customers bought the kit, installed it on their air cams, which they can do, right, experimental. And they've been flying them, and the reports, and I've gotten a chance to fly them, obviously, have been very good. I mean, they're working very well. So now move forward to this point in time, we have gotten to the point where we feel comfortable saying, okay, this big bore kit is working, and it's going to be a reliable setup. It adds 15 horsepower per engine. So we did some testing.
15 increase.
Yes, which is significant on a 100 horsepower engine.
Oh, yeah.
And it's at least that. I mean, you have to add quite a bit of pitch, and you can feel the thrust difference. So for us, what that allowed us to do then was to test at higher weights and see what the single engine performance would be. So we found out that we could fly at 1,900 pounds with similar single engine performance to what we had at 1680 with the big bore kit. And so then that led to the development of the Gen 3. So taking advantage of that 220-pound increase, what we've done is engineered the structure to take that extra load. And that includes a different landing gear leg made out of a different alloy with a different machining taper. We went to a stronger wheel, stronger brakes. We've changed the whole landing gear box assembly where the gear, so it can take the higher loads. Really beefed it up. And then the aft section of the fuselage, there are changes back there, which if someone comes to our display, they can see the actual fuselage. There's a Gen 3 fuselage there they can look at. And then in the cargo area, we had to engineer the seat attachments and particularly the seatbelt harness attachments. Our harness attachments are very, very robust. And so there's a lot of extra components that need to go in the fuselage to assure that those harness attachments are going to be strong enough to take crash loads. And then, so all that's included. And then we put footwells in the cargo bay so that when you sit in there, your feet go down like they do in the other seats and it's comfortable. Those footwells, by the way, because they don't have rudder pedals in them, because you don't have controls in the jump seat, also add extra cargo space. Right, so they're pretty big footwells, and you can put all kinds of stuff down in there. And actually, when you don't have the jump seat in there, you can load even more cargo volume in the cargo bay now.
How close is that to the CG of the airplane?
Well, the cargo bay is on. I mean, part of it is right on the CG.
Oh, that's
yeah.
good.
So things that are in the forward section of the cargo bay have no effect, and in fact, the third seat has very little effect. It's slightly after the center of the CG.
That's encouraging. The whole thing about the air cam is encouraging. And how many are flying right now, Phil?
Flying, I would say, it's a guess, but about 250.
250. What are your goals? I mean, 2050? Are you going for numbers? Or
our goals are to make a lot of people happy with a fun airplane and keep it as safe as possible, and sell enough of them to make a profit. You know. So we're doing that, and it's a fun business because it's a fun airplane. So I enjoy it, and we take safety very seriously. So as the plane matures, obviously we have some air cams now that have been flying for many, many years. As we see, and I run a service operation in Sebring as well, and I think that's important because even though we're experimental, but as an airframe manufacturer, we learn so much from servicing the airplanes. So we have 7 full-time technicians think we have 6 or 7 AMPs on staff. And we service many different types of Rotax powered airplanes, but of course we service a lot of aircams, and some of them with quite a bit of time on them. So our guys have gotten really good at servicing those airplanes and seeing, you know, what's wearing and what service issues occur. And then engineering gets involved, and then immediately if we see something that could be a safety issue, a service bulletin is developed, we put it on our website, and then we get that information out to the customer. So having that maintenance operation is really helping us keep the fleet as safe as possible and have the fleet benefit from, you know, having a fleet.
Sure, sure. I know that the aircraft is real popular in the Caribbean. You got the multi-engine redundancy for safety. Over long water stretches, it's nice to have another power plant out there. But I know you just recently did a photo shoot over in the Bahamas. It was well received.
Well, the Bahamas is ideal for the AirCam because, as you mentioned, it really spotlights one of our key abilities, and that's to have 2 engines and fly low safely with that twin engine redundancy. But also the visual that you get when flying low in the Bahamas, particularly in the areas where you have the light turquoise water, like in the Exumas. I think it's one of my favorite places to fly because the visual experience is so strong in the AirCam. And it's interesting, you know, I've flown out to the Bahamas many times in different types of airplanes, and that is one place where the experience you get in the AirCam is so much better than in almost any other airplane because of your ability to fly low, and you see so much. When you're 20 foot off of a deserted island, and there are many areas where you have deserted beaches with no one around, where you can just go down and fly 20 foot off the beach at 55 miles per hour, and you're not bothering anyone, and it's fun.
It's the bird-like freedom, I think, that kind of lures us all in aviation, of having that freedom. And is another aspect that probably folks wouldn't realize this, but it's the aroma. I mean, you're in the elements out there, and just flying over one of these deserted islands, there's a certain smell about it. I mean, there's something in the air, and you realize that you are in a very, very primitive area. And it smells good. It really does.
Well, flying out there in those on those islands, and there are islands that have population, and they'll have stretches of shoreline that is deserted. And of course, you got to maintain 500-foot rule, but it's easy to do out there. It's easy to fly legally, not upset anyone, and have a ton of fun, and that's what we love about it.
Well, you're not flying at 20 feet to show off. You're flying at 20 feet to enjoy the sensation of flight.
No. We look for places where no one's there, right? So we're definitely not showing off.
No.
But it is so much fun to do that. And of course, those short strips where after you take off, there's nothing but water in front of you. Again, you have a lot more confidence in the AirCam that that you've got those 2 engines, and that if one of them hiccups, you're just going to keep going.
Not event. Phil, if I was interested in getting more experience, or maybe getting a demonstration flight, because I'm right on the fence, I'm going to buy either a Baron, or I'm going to just jump into an open cockpit. I might even go closed cockpit, get that option. But how would I go about it?
Well, first off, an enclosed cockpit AirCam can be flown either way. And very quickly, in 30 minutes, you can go from open to enclosed. So if you have the enclosed option on an AirCam, it doesn't mean you've given up flying open.
Well, that just cinched it. That just put me over the
you
fence.
Can go
I'm
either
going
way.
to go AirCam.
But you just give us a call and come down to the factory, and we'll arrange for a demo flight.
And I know that they're reachable Lockwood Aviation, or just Google AirCam. What is your website?
Well, the official AirCam website is aircam.com, and Lockwood Aviation is lockwood.aero. But we're together in the same facility on the Sebring Airport. Sierra Echo Foxtrot, right? SEF.
And what a beautiful area. Lake Placid, Sebring. I've always liked that area of Florida.
It's pretty. We live on we're based on the north side of Lake Itstapoga, and so we often are able to fly that lake down low. A lot of fun.
You used to be on Lake Jackson, did you?
Well, I live on Lake Jackson, right?
Oh, okay.
But our base is at Sebring for the business, and that's real close to Lake Extopoga.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Lake Extopoga has, again, a lot of sections that are very sparsely populated, so it's great for going out and flying low, yeah.
Flying low. Low and slow, I like it. And AirCam, we're not talking about, it's not a fast aircraft.
No.
We're not looking for speed. We're looking for enjoyment and safety and reliability.
So the plane was designed specifically to fly low, right? So most people fly at the lower end of its speed range. So in reality, an AirCam can cruise up at altitude at 100 miles per hour quite easily, but that's not what it was built for, right? So normally you're flying at 55, 60 miles an hour at very low power settings down low. Yeah.
I love it. Phil, as we wrap it up, is there anything you'd like to leave with us as far as the Gen 3, the big bore kit, and other than that, come see you?
No, well, with the exception of guys at the FAA have been helping us work on a training loader. So AirCam owners that wanted to put their planes on floats have found it very difficult to acquire a multi-C class rating. And of course that is required to fly an AirCam on floats. So we've been working with the FAA to gain the ability to do multi-C training for the moment for AirCam owners, so that they can actually train and test in a LOTA-equipped AirCam at our facility, and we're very close to getting that done now. Thanks to work of a number of guys in the FAA.
I think that's going to happen because of the background, the integrity of you and your group, and just the common sense approach that you use to everything that you do in seaplane operations. And that's a compliment.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I'm going to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Because you're a busy man during this period of time. Thank you for everything that you do, and we'll talk to you next interview.
My pleasure, Ben. Thanks.
Folks, I don't know what to say other than just it's always a pleasure to have this gentleman in our presence. And I'd like to hear more about the AirCam and how it's perfected, because we're reaching perfection here, folks. AirCam, take a look at it, lockwood.aero or aircam.com. Ben Coleman, one of your hosts here at the Florida Aviation Network. Talk to you next interview.